Good evening. Welcome to the City of Opa-locka virtual workshop. Today, Madam Attorney, could you state the emergency protocols that govern this meeting?
Sure. Pursuant to Executive Order Number 20-69 issued by the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis on March 20th, 2020, municipalities may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location and utilizing communications media technology such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by Section 120.54 5B2 of the Florida statutes. The members of the City Commission appearing remotely for this meeting are Vice Mayor Davis, Commissioner Bass, Commissioner Burke, Commissioner Kelly, and Mayor Pygott. An opportunity was given to the public to email the City Clerk prior to the workshop. The City Clerk will state for the records at the appropriate time whether there have been any questions, comments, concerns on items that you'll hear on this evening's meeting agenda. This meeting is being streamed live at www.youtube.com/user/City of Opa-locka.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. I want to welcome everyone to our virtual workshop. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Bass,
I'm here.
Commissioner Burke, Commissioner Burke,
I'm with Commissioner Burke on the phone right now. We're setting up his audio. He's having an issue.
okay, I actually see him on there, so I'll mark him as present. Vice Mayor Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly,
Present.
Mayor Pygott.
I am here. All right. Commissioner Kelly, could you lead us in invocation?
Eternal God, our Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you, God, for all of your continued blessings. Continue, God, to watch over our nation, our state, our community. Continue, God, give us wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Do those things which are pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Manager, will lead us in invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Madam Clerk, could you go over the public comment protocols and let us know if we have any public input for this meeting?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So the public had an opportunity to submit public comments for this workshop up until 3:30 p.m. today via email at publiccomments@opalockafl.gov or by calling 786-618-2636 and leaving a pre-recorded message. There are no public comments for this meeting, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you very much. I'd like to encourage the public, please utilize public comments at opalockafl.gov. Make sure your voice is heard during these workshops. It's one of our opportunities in order to engage the public. So please continue to use this as a platform. Mr. Manager,
Thank you,
ready
sir.
for our coronavirus update?
Yes, sir. Thank you. First, good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, commissioners, staff, and those that are watching. My coronavirus briefing is going to be a little lengthy, but with a little twist to it, because we have to talk about some hurricane provisions that are kind of related to the coronavirus as well. So as we kind of talk and discuss this, our testing site has reduced its census to up to 500 per day. Once they hit 500, they shut down operations. They are cycling through incident commanders. 2 incident commanders are circulating through the site. Jim, the incident commander now is stepping out, and actually the old incident commander is coming back, the previous one. The name is on the tip of my tongue. I just lost it. Randy, yes. Randy will be stepping back in on Sunday, which we don't know when. Our caveat, as of today at 3, our testing center is closed. until further notice. And based on the tropical storm, that looks like it may not hit landfall, but we may just get the edge of it on the coast of South Florida. So until that kind of passes, they have halted all testing. I have been on conference calls yesterday and today with the Miami-Dade Emergency Management in regards to tropical storm preparations. The biggest issue we're dealing with is how are we as municipalities going to deal with the ELC this year? Because of the coronavirus, we all can't be in one place to coordinate events because of being in an enclosed space and possibility of spreading the coronavirus. Miami-Dade County, since the coronavirus started, has done their ELC remotely via Zoom or via other platforms. It's just this similar platform that's on for an extended period of time, where somebody that's working and you can have communications back and forth through some type of mode. As you all saw today, I signed an emergency purchase declaration for a generator for 780 Fisherman, because what we're trying to avoid is relocating the police department to Shabundi or to another location. So we are looking to hopefully have that emergency generator installed ASAP, probably tomorrow, at the 780 building. So if power does go down, operations can commence in the building. Also, this gives opportunity where we probably can run our ELC out of 780 on various floors of the building. So employees would be able to be separated on the 4th and 3rd floors and still be able to operate in an efficient manner and coordinate operations of the city moving forward. I'm going to do something different. I typically go to the PR and then we go through questions, but I want to kind of start questions and answers now in regards to this subject, and then we'll go on to PR and police. Well, actually, let's talk about police. Then we'll go to questions and answers, then PR. Is Lieutenant Shiverton on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you can speak on coronavirus enforcement and then the current hurricane preparedness.
Coronavirus enforcement. We have currently issued approximately 42 citations since we started on the 26th. We've shut down approximately 7 businesses as late as yesterday for operating with patrons inside the business via a restaurant or some type of bar setting. We've shut down 7 of them so far. We're still doing the social distancing, and 3 of the 7 business owners was arrested and PTA'd on scene. And as far as the hurricane preparedness, we have already started gassing up our vehicles, preparing ourselves with the cones, the signs, made contact with Ready Ice today, and they're on board. All we have to do is make a phone call in case we need ice. Reached out to Department of Transportation for any extra signs of cones, just in case we have some type of outage with our traffic systems throughout the city. And our officers will be placed on standby if need be, starting on tomorrow for Alpha Bravo.
Okay, thank you. It's my objective during the weekend. I have toured the city during rain events, but it's my objective to tour the city this weekend. During the event, through the luxury of Public Works, I already have my rain gear. So it's my objective to go out with Public Works either Saturday or Sunday, or even first thing Monday, early Monday morning, to survey the area, to look at where our major flooding spots are, and try to work with Public Works to get to immediate solutions to kind of resolve the issues. Typically, we get rain events. Since I've been here, water stays standing for a while because the gutters are not cleaned in an appropriate way because we don't have the staffing to do that. I know Mr. Austin's reached out to a third-party entity 2 clean gutters. I don't know what the status of that is now, but it's my objective to be out in the field, in the muck, to kind of direct operations and assist Public Works and PD as best as possibly can to try to get things rectified as fast as possible. So that is my objective. Now I'm ready to take questions from the commission. Now I hope there are plenty of them because I'm ready to answer most of them.
Mayor Paget,
Commissioner Bass?
just 2 quick questions to Lieutenant Shervington. He said something about PTA. That's what you said? I just don't know what that is.
I'm sorry. In lieu of taking them down to the TGK as promised to appear, it's like also known as notice to appear to court.
Okay.
So they'll be getting a court date instead of going down to the jail.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And to the manager, I would love to be able to make that visit with you. Probably not all of it, but I would like to be there to see what's going on and to be a part of it. You know, we're a new team of foot soldiers and I would love to be there. Thank you.
No problem.
Manager, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly?
Thank you. Mr. Manager, you seem so excited. I just got to say that you seem very excited for a potential storm, but I guess this being potentially your first one, although I'm prayerfully it will just be more of a rainmaker. Did we reach out, or did Public Works reach out to the county? There's still a lot of trash piles, quote unquote, around, and this is potentially going to be a rain and possibly wind, you know, type of system. Do we reach out to them to try to at least pick up as many piles they can by tomorrow, especially those areas we've identified that might be caught up in the wind or what have you? Have we reached out to them?
Mr.
Hello?
Austin?
Code compliance is keeping the county abreast daily of the piles that are in imminent danger of causing damage. So we are reaching out to them on a daily basis.
And if I had to add, and if I like to add, and also we reached out to the junkyards to remove the vehicles that are over the walls that could potentially blow over. So we sent out code enforcement and buildings departments today to notify those entities to remove those vehicles ASAP, as soon as possible, away from those walls, above the walls, so those vehicles do not flip over in the wind event.
Thank you. That was going to be my next question. Okay, you reached out to the county. I don't know what that really means on a daily basis. Did you get any assurance from them they would try to at least pick up the ones you've identified that you feel may be a major challenge? Is that a yes? Because, you know, reaching out to them on a daily basis, I don't know if that means yes or no, but I'm very concerned about certain areas that may have potential to become projectiles. That was another concern I had about the vehicles that are up over the piles or whatever, you know, above the walls. I did hear the lieutenant mention about ice and what have you in case, I guess, power's out or things of that nature. You said they're a phone call away. So I'm assuming we have some kind of plan of how we would get it. They got the truck or some kind of process that you've already got in place of how that would work if the need arises. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Austin, in regards to the question in related to is the county actually picking up the trash piles?
They acknowledged that they were going to collect it. They did not give us a definite time of collection at this time, sir.
So that's most likely, that's a no, if I was to use my cognitive thinking skills, just being real.
Manager, just
yes.
very quickly to Mr. Austin. I want to be clear because I know the intent behind Commissioner Kelly's question. Did we specifically request that the county pick up all known trash piles before the storm hits this weekend?
No, we did not tell them to pick up all trash piles, just those that are in imminent danger of causing damage.
So for the storm, like before the storm comes, is that specifically before the storm comes?
Correct, sir.
Okay. All right. We want to make sure.
And so we have a, I guess someone who will be kind of monitoring, since we've identified where they are, that they're going to pick them up. And if we see by 12 o'clock tomorrow they haven't, we're gonna make a call and say, you've forgotten this pile, because it's on the list that we really need to pick up. That's what I'm getting at, to make sure we follow up as best we can before things go down here, if that's the case. Okay, and the other part on the ICE, Mr. Manager, or how that process would work if need be?
No problem. Lieutenant Shiverton, you can answer that question
Yes, sir.
through the manager.
Yes, sir. We have a team already in place. We have breaking down our administration staff as well as patrol units. That's going to be designed as search and rescue, and that team will go and pick up the ice and ready ice and distribute it where it's needed to be.
Okay, and the last question, thank you. The last question, in terms of communication, since you said that 780 is more than likely going to be your command post for police and yourself, what are we planning on doing in terms of just notifying residents? Are we doing a code red? Are we just going to put it on our Facebook, social media platforms? Are we going to do anything out of ordinary in terms of reminder, I guess, to say it for lack of a better term, prior to tomorrow evening?
Yeah, so really we're in standby mode. We're actually sending out a communication this evening in regards to the storm, through email, a blast, and through social media. We will be doing a code red message as of 5 o'clock today. Actually, while I was on the conference call with Miami-Dade County, a tropical storm watch was issued. We're going to make sure we put out a code red message probably this evening, or if not first thing in the morning, in regards to that, and just give some preparation tips through code red, through our social media. We're going to do a full social media and media blast in all facets, Commissioner. Facebook, our code red, anything and everything that we have available to us, we will be putting communication out to make sure we hit all facets.
Did we already do anything on our social media platform regarding the testing sites being closed per the state? We already put that out, or, I mean, you would think people have seen it on TV, but maybe they haven't. Are we going to do that, or have we done it?
So it's been drafted. Proof is coming to me probably within an hour, and it'll be placed out on social media.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Vice Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the manager, I heard we talk about junkyards and just some of the level of the cars that are occupying those businesses. Is that a code violation? To have those cars stacked that high? And the reason why I ask is because nowhere in Miami-Dade County do you see that other than the city of Opa-locka.
So ironically, it is a code violation. And my objective this go around is when they take them down, that they don't put them back up. And I remember actually almost a year ago during a tour when I was the city manager candidate, doing a tour of those areas being pointed out. And I know we were having some difficulty. So the objective now is to force them to remove the vehicles during this storm session, and hopefully, hope they don't listen to this YouTube channel, have them keep them down.
Thank you. Yeah, that was my thinking, because I recall in past conversations just about development and code that, you know, that it was actually a code violation that was never being enforced. So I'm glad to see actions being taken, you know, even though we're preparing for a storm that's good. I guess this question will be to the manager, well, actually to Lieutenant Shiverton, about the 7 businesses that were shut down. How do we come about, I guess, shutting down those businesses? Was it as a result of enforcement, or did we have residents kind of weigh in and highlight it as a problem?
Lieutenant Shiverton through the manager.
Yes, 2 of the businesses was called in as service calls for service, but the rest of them was active patrolling, walking around, noticing large crowds gathered in certain areas.
Okay, so mostly related to large crowds and gatherings. So we're still having a problem with that.
What my guys was instructed to do, what the police department is instructed to do now is make sure that they check all bars, cafes, to make sure that nobody's in violation. And that's how they came across it.
Okay, great. So we are enforcing those kind of hotspot areas, those areas that are known to have entertainment and large crowds and activity. That's great, Mr. Shipman. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That'll be all.
All right. Mr. Manager, what's the status of our hurricane preparedness plan?
So as far as our hurricane preparedness plan, the city has one. It needs to be updated based on just my review of going through it. As far as the common yearly preparations that have been done, I conducted a staff meeting today. We kind of went over step by step what hurricane preparedness looked like in the city in the past, more specifically last year during the hurricane scare, what was done, what everybody's responsibility was. And so I had each staff member break down their responsibilities and what they did in the past, along with reviewing documentation that was emailed to me in regards to that matter. And so we are moving status quo from last year of what we did. Now, as we go through this event, which hopefully will be a minor one and a good opportunity to train, I may be making modifications kind of going from there.
I just want to make sure we have an updated hurricane preparedness plan in the city. Since I've been here, I haven't seen one that been finalized and approved by us. So I want to make sure that happens throughout the city of Opa-locka. All right. Outside of that, Mr. Manager, you still have the floor. Just unmute your mic.
At this time, I have Ms. Mockins provide her report.
Thank you, City Manager, and good evening to the Mayor and the City Board. This week, we issued press releases on several events, kids and COVID-19, the Manager's Corner, as well as how to run for office. Commissioner Bass will be on Hot 105 in the morning. Newsletters went out on kids and COVID event, Manager's Corner, Tropical Storm, and Shabandi Park closing. On social media, continued our trilingual Safer at Home campaign, Mask Up COVID-19 safety tips, and awareness on Opa-locka, We Are Working for You campaign, along with Mask Up, Tropical Storm awareness, Shabandi Park test site closing, as well as tomorrow we will begin the upcoming anonymous COVID-19 link to report claims in addition to the telephone number that we had been promoting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Ms. Mockins.
Yes, sir.
As far as tropical storm tips, we're gonna put those out, I'm assuming this evening and for my review to kind of look at and go through, or is that already been done?
You did approve the graphic that gave the information on the amount of time that it was taking for tropical storm to reach shore. So that has gone out in trilingual language. It will go out again tomorrow, as well as the preparedness, which you haven't approved yet, but that was scheduled for tomorrow's newsletter, as well as the code. Okay.
As far as the code red message, and who would we pick? So we might as well say who now, so we can have them prepared to do the recording.
Yes.
So who's in line to do a code red message?
I believe it's Commissioner Kelly's turn. Okay. Will he be available to voice that?
Commissioner Kelly? Okay. Who's next up after Commissioner Kelly? Oh, okay, Commissioner Kelly's here, okay.
Yes, would I be able to do the code red? Oh, yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Excellent. All right. Any questions for PR and marketing?
I have one question,
Commissioner Kelly.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm still waiting on my mask.
Wait, Commissioner Kelly, your mask dropped off to Mr. Grice. I dropped off a whole stack of those masks.
No, I'm talking about my orange one.
No, that's what I dropped off.
I
dropped them all off at the city hall and gave them to
Okay,
Mr.
I don't want to
Grice.
hold the meeting. I saw the vice mayor today in a press conference with his. I've seen everybody with theirs. You know, might wear mine in church service. I just want my mask. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I got you, Commissioner Kelly. Mr. Grice, if you can make sure Commissioner Kelly gets his mask, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Burke.
to the manager, Mr. Manager, do you recall, I believe a couple of days ago, I asked you to see if there was a venue that sold masks for kids. I asked you to look into seeing if we could get masks for kids. Did you have any luck with that?
So we are looking at the venue currently for procurement and waiting for numbers to come back as far as, because we're going to do one mask order. So we're looking at that.
Okay, thank you. Because I think that would go well with Commissioner Bass' kids with COVID. So we probably won't have them by that time, but I guess after we do that, then maybe we can go back to some of these apartment complexes and give masks to the kids. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Does that conclude your report, Mr. Manager?
Yes, COVID-19, yes.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor, would you be able to provide an update to everyone in regards to the meeting that happened earlier today and your conversations with the League of Cities in regards to coronavirus and the CARES Act funding?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. So as of the day, through our partnership with the League of Cities, as you know, I'm a board member. The League has took a strong position as it relates to CARES Act funding. As you know, over the last couple of weeks and months, actually, we've been in negotiation with Miami-Dade County in reference to CARES Act funding and, ultimately that money coming down the pipeline and, getting it to the people who need it the most, our businesses, our residents, and our constituents in general. What has transpired was in our opinion, good faith negotiations, I guess, have left by the wayside. Miami-Dade County originally agreed to administer $135 million on a per capita or population basis. Now, of course, in Miami-Dade County, we have a different landscape from Broward County. So when you look at our municipalities as a whole, we have large areas of unincorporated pockets. And the breakdown ultimately results at, I think 57% of all residents within Miami-Dade County reside within a municipality. And of course the county has, so it's about a half split. And the other half reside in unincorporated areas. So that's basically the county's rationale behind taking a more regional approach to delivering CARES Act funding. So with that, of course, the $135 million went down to $35 million. And really, to be honest, that $35 million is being allocated only towards operational expenses. So how we've incurred police overtime, how we, purchased masks and made other expenditures related to COVID-19. All of those will be eligible based on the final decision that the county made at their last special regular commission meeting. So as you know, I've personally been in contact with Commissioner Jordan, just expressing the need of a rental assistance program and, how we pretty much don't have any resources, for our heavily renter occupied community. I think we're all homeowners, but, our community is heavily renter occupied, and we do acknowledge that. And, the county has administered a program as well that our residents are going to be eligible for. The issue with that is that not only are our residents going to be eligible, Miami Gardens residents as well. So we're talking about maybe, I think the county allocated $10 million for rental assistance across 13 districts, which result in like less than $1 million for each district. So again, not a lot of money to go around. So, we're pretty much in the same boat as, similar sized cities. We don't really have the capital, kind of up front to kind of, if we want to put something in place for our residents. And that's what most of us small cities have been advocating for on behalf of the league. Mayor Jimenez did allude to maybe advancing some funds up front. So again, some, maybe looking at what we occurred and maybe advancing some money for cities that have cash flow issues. I don't foresee that we have a cash flow issue unless we, really take on, some sort of major project. So, as it relates to like, I guess doing something, meaningful for our residents outside of just operation, it looks slim at this point as far as, being reimbursed from the county. So as far as any operational expenses, anything we've been doing along the lines of testing, enforcing laws related to COVID-19 and any sort of basic outreach should be covered. However, anything extra, any extra icing on top probably wouldn't. So, so that's pretty much it. And let me just touch on this last point. So we've already kind of expended, I guess, a lot of our money towards operational expenses. So, I don't know. I mean, we would have to just kind of submit what we have, see where the county is at as far as reimbursing any sort of expenditures, and then also looking at what FEMA is doing. So remember now, FEMA is also providing, so the county might not even deliver the whole $35 million because FEMA's providing the match. So we're really looking at a lesser number than that. And remember that 35 million is for all 30 something odd municipalities in Miami-Dade County.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Manager.
if I can caveat back to COVID-19 before we go into strategic planning very quickly. I just have a couple of things.
Hold on a moment then. Does anyone have any questions, comments for Vice Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, no, I'll hold mine for the meeting because we got legislation, so I'll hold mine for the meeting.
Okay, anyone else? All right, Mr. Manager.
I do have some additional questions for the police department while I was thinking. Lieutenant Sheridan, I know you guys have been through this scenario many times as far as tropical storms and hurricanes. At this point, have we thought about, especially with Alpha Bravo, where officers are going to sleep, how they're going to procure food, how they're going to respond to certain calls, and do they have any rain gear?
The majority of our officers do have rain gear. The sleeping quarters, I was actually thinking about that earlier today, and I was trying to put something together. The only thing that I could really come up with was I was going to get with you by tomorrow, once I jot it down, is maybe using a floor inside of City Hall, let the officers sleep in City Hall, because the last time we used the old police station. That's where we slept at. And as far as responding to calls, we'll be responding to emergency calls, and all flooded areas, we're gonna have to use the SUVs or the pickup truck to get through there. So if something goes out in Carroll Lane that we have to get to, we can only use our SUVs and or our pickup truck that we have, because we can't take any police cars down Carroll Lane or any flooded streets for that matter.
All right. And the reason I mention this is not to necessarily point out any flaws in the police department, is to point out that it's important that we invest in our law enforcement and our public safety. We've already seen that with the uptick of shootings that we're having in the city. So I just wanted to make it aware to everybody, you know, we may be kind of doing a push to provide more resources to our law enforcement in the future. And also to mention, I don't know if the Vice Mayor did mention the 1% hazardous pay that the county actually preemptively stated that they would approve as reimbursement to the officers. But a requirement of that is to do a agreement with the unions to pay those officers that time retroactively when the coronavirus emergency started all the way up to December 31st. So that is going to be something in play. That's something I sent over to the attorney's office today to get some input on, and it may be on the next agenda coming forward because I do believe we need to take care of our law enforcement. I do believe they're out there every day. While we got a majority of our employees working from home and, you know, safer at home, our officers on the street, and they have to be on the street. And we have had a lot of our officers and other agencies come up positive for coronavirus because of the elements that they deal with on an everyday basis. So I do want to kind of put that on mind of the commission as I kind of move things forward on my agenda, probably for the next year. I don't have anything else, Mayor. That's all I had.
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes, I wanted to segue into that as well with since the lieutenant said about the Alpha Bravo and preparedness for hurricane, but that was on my radar as well with the recent shootings we've had and challenge we've had. And when I get those whatever reminders of those challenges, how that's going to impact our manpower. So the idea is to go to the Alpha Bravo. I'm assuming that to have more resources available for that very reason. That reason why you go to that. Are you plan on going to that, Mr. Mayor, to the manager or to the chief? I mean, to the lieutenant.
So I mean, Alpha Bravo is a discretion of the city manager and police department as well. We have to monitor conditions. The reason we would go Alpha Bravo, I believe this go around, is if we get enough rain and it's enough issues on the street where it overwhelms our current officers, our minimum or maximum staffing is on the street. If we get call volume that goes up or anything that happens where it kind of maximizes or taxes our officers, that time we'll authorize Alpha Bravo, which means you will have 2 platoons off day shift, 2 platoons of night shift with no days off for a certain period of time so they have enough officers on the street. And we have to remember we're going through violent crime surge. Now we're going to be going through a tropical storm, natural disaster. So we're going to be monitoring that very closely and see what resources are needed as the time goes by.
Thank you for that. I'm pretty sure we're going to, well, you keep it up with all your resources that you have to expend and those that are COVID-19 versus hurricane. I'm quite sure you keep up with that. And that's important. I heard you mention about or asking about equipment and or rain gear for the police department, but I hope you don't leave out Public Works, and those folks will have to come out there too at some point, make sure that they have the necessary rain gear, whatever equipment that they're going to need. Because if you have the flooding or the drainage issues when stuff start backing up, they got to come out in certain surroundings. So please just make sure they got everything they need to have.
Yes,
All
Mr.
right,
Austin,
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, if I could have Mr. Austin speak on that, just for clarity and comfort, about the rain gear in regards to Public Works, the manager.
We did recently acquire enough rain gear to provide for our staff at Public Works, so we are equipped.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. While reviewing the needs of our sworn personnel, I would love for us to also just consider I know with the enforcement of the mask law and mask ordinance throughout Miami-Dade County, that may not need sworn law enforcement officers and other things. So I would love for us to get a little creative about what we can do while we shore up our police officers that are out there dealing with violent crime and this thing, what other things we can do. There's been a lot of funding that's been put towards police officers and basically just getting more sworn officers on the street. But how that has related to the drop in violent crime hasn't really correlated. So I want to make sure that we are effective, especially concentrating our energies on areas that do have the highest crimes, and what are the resources and things they need in order to target those areas. Do we need more surveillance? Do we need more detectives? Do we need, like, those are the things that I really want to see as the variety that really targets specifically how we're going to handle the violent crime. So with any improvements or changes, I would definitely want to see a direct correlation to how exactly we're going to stop violent crimes in those areas, and not just generally give more funding to the police. I want to see what that looks like. So I look forward to those conversations and providing us with that information so that we are aware, we're comfortable, and we know that if we're going to make this a significant investment or whatever investment it is, that it is going to bring some results. So
Yes, sir.
thank you, Mr. Manager. All right, let's move on to our strategic plan. You have the floor.
Thank you.
And we have less than 15 minutes. 10
Okay,
minutes.
okay. So as I kind of think about strategic planning, kind of moving forward as far as the city, there's one thing that has to be done in the that's in the Auditor General's audit that we haven't done. The commission has to pass a strategic plan. And that is one thing that we cannot do administratively within the office. So as we have these sessions, I kind of want to think about how we go about developing a strategic plan. There is a specific ordinance in regards to the commission developing a strategic plan. It's my plan to, through the clerk, share that item with the commission as a reminder of the process required to develop a strategic plan, and something that is required to be passed by the commission. And I would like to kind of get that passed a little after the next FY. So October, November timeframe, I would like to get a strategic plan passed. We can start working on that now in our next 2 sessions after I send out guidance and the ordinance to everybody, and kind of get an understanding of how we're going to do that moving forward. So I kind of want to speak on that. I know a lot of you have been on the commission a while. I know Commissioner Kelly's been on the commission a great while. So I want to kind of talk about the methodology of the strategic plan, how you guys want to go about attacking that and kind of getting something passed to comply with one of the measures in the operational audit. So we kind of open the floor on that.
And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Manager, I think during our last session, we talked about the general aims that we wanted to see as a part of the strategic plan. And I know we do have one on file, just it's not been updated in quite a while. So is your office taking into consideration what we discussed during last week and putting together something that can be reviewed for us in draft form and that presented to us at an upcoming meeting in September, so that we can go from there in terms of any modifications?
So we did get a detailed document that was garnered by yourself, Mayor, that went out to the commission in regards to strategic planning. I have not gotten any.
No, that's not. No, that was not the strategic plan. Mr. Gay can probably weigh in on the actual strategic plan we have for the city and where it's updated. That's the document. That is the actual strategic plan, not the list of priorities that you requested from all of us, and that I submitted. That is completely different from strategic planning.
Understood. Mr. Gay, if you can kind of touch on the previous strategic plan.
Okay, the previous strategic plan, I believe that was the 2020 vision strategic plan that was put together by the commission, I believe in 2012, 2013. That was a document that was basically looking at all of the resources and all of the departments to determine what would be the best utilization and the best strategic plan process for identifying projects, programs, and activities within the city. I would believe that within the last year and a half, the city managers along with staff have been provided with that particular documentation, and were asked to do an update as to what the status was relating to that particular visioning process that was done. I don't believe there's been a whole lot of follow-up over the last 6 months as relates to the status of that visioning process and where certain departments have either hit their marks or they may be somewhat deficient in addressing some of those particular concerns. But that is a document that basically has given some benchmarks of what should have been done by this year, 2020, and what remains to be done as far as goals, objectives, and policies relating to projects to be done within the city.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Manager, and I'll open the floor to my colleagues. Ideally, if we can get an update on reviewing that plan, get an update on where we are, combine that with the priorities we discussed during the last meeting, and also the 5-year recovery plan, because I think our strategic plan, it's very difficult for us to plan the city based upon the challenges that we're facing, especially as financial oversight. So more than likely, this strategic plan is going to be the plan to get us out of this financial oversight and to some horizon where we can, that our future commission can do a vision even further. So if you can provide that update and that consolidation to us, I would like to have those documents first before moving forward. But floor is open for a discussion on that. Any other thoughts on that?
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you. I was under the impression that they were using the previous document and kind of bringing it forward in terms of years based on what has happened, and was going to give that to the commission as a starting point to build on. I thought that's what was supposed to occur. So maybe I misunderstood because obviously it's old, but there's some elements in it I think are still applicable. So without reinventing the whole wheel, I think that'd be a starting point, because for many, this might be the first strategic plan going forward. But is there a way to the document that Mr. Gay is referencing that you all have been, well, the staff has worked on to upgrade? Is that what's the latest that they did that? He said a year and a half. So how old would that upgraded document be? 2017 or 18 or somewhere around there? Mr. Mayor, to the manager, to Mr. Gay.
I think Mr. Gay said the last strategic plan was in 2012.
Yeah, it was 2012.
Actually, I'm looking at an adopted version of it that was revised in September of 2014. Mr. Manager, I just forwarded that to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly.
Mayor, is that the floor?
Yes, sir.
I can't hear you.
Yes, sir. You still have the floor.
Okay, thank you. That's what I'm saying. So it was modified from 12 to 14, but I would think if you had some discussions, or as Mr. Gay said, from staff over the year and a half, I would think that you all have upgraded that 14. And so if you would have given that to the commission to see where it was or where it is now, and maybe that would be easier to capture the ideas or thoughts in building on the document. That's a suggestion.
Understood.
at least to get something initially passed, you can always go and rework it. The biggest thing that you're going to be adding, obviously, is you got to think in mind of 5-year recovery that wasn't probably a part of the thinking process back then, but should have been captured since they've been discussing it a year and a half ago. That would be my suggestion. And I'm going to go back and look at my notes too, because I kind of remember some of that, but not all of it off the top of my head. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Davis?
Thank you. Yeah, the comprehensive plan. So really what it is just a uniform document to say, so the city is all on one page as far as development and the community and, businesses and pretty much all the stakeholders as far as like where we are to go for the next 5 to 7 years. So it's just that. It's a foundation for, what we are to hope for the future. I'm hoping, since we have it, we are at the, 20, the 2020 mark, is the 2020 vision, we're here in 2020. So in my opinion, we should, do what Mayor Pygott stated, which is, assess where we are, what we did, what we didn't do, why we didn't do it, maybe, discuss as a board if it's something that, we want to do going forward. But the fact of the matter is, we're here at the 2020 mark. So some sort of evaluation needs to take place. And then, and we could decide as a board as far as, any sort of future vision and as far as the strategic plan is concerned. If I'm correct, I know that it's a required document of the state of Florida. Florida is actually, I don't know if it's recommended or mandated, but I know for a fact it's recommended to be updated every 5 to 7 years. So maybe the attorney could speak to the legal kind of strongholds that are associated with that through the mayor and the manager.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Burke?
I'm almost sure a strategic plan was put together by the last commission. And I think that's the document that Mr. Gay is talking about. And if I'm not sure, like Commissioner Kelly said, if we can all get a look at that document and look at some of the things that's in that document and some of the things that was supposed to happen that didn't happen, and then maybe we can take that document and move on that document and add to that document and go on from there. And I guess I'm almost sure that, I don't know, I guess you was there, that they did do a strategic plan. But if we can dig that up someplace and look at that and go from there. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Mr. Manager?
I know we did speak of this in the past. I know a copy of this document may have been forwarded to Mr. Anathan. Mr. Anathan, have you done any work in regards to this? I know you've been working on extensive stuff such as 5-year recovery and various different things. Have you looked at and reviewed the document, and have you done any work or any work plan on it? I don't want to reinvent the wheel.
No, sir, I've not.
Okay, thank you. And then I don't want this to necessarily conflict with the 5-year plan, which is going to be another comprehensive document that's going to probably be somewhat similar, even though it's going to be pointing on more to financials. I have to kind of figure out how to navigate those waters. So we won't have a strategic plan go out and a 5-year plan go out, and I don't want them to conflict with one another.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Manager. We look forward to seeing that information. Just for the sake of time, we do have a special commission meeting coming up. And at last week's discussion, we had a very lively discussion about the actions taken with Glorietta Apartments. And we requested an update from management about what we can do, along with the opinion from the attorney, how we are going to ensure that that property comes up to code in regards to the stormwater management. Mr. Manager, could you provide a report on that and also the status of our enforcement on that property with the special consideration for any running liens or any fines that we currently have, violation that are currently happening on that property with stormwater.
So, good. So first, there is no running liens or fines on the, there is a fine on the property in regards to stormwater. There's no running lien as of yet because we wrote the fine at the time, we wrote the citation or citations at the last rain event that occurred that got a lot of publicity, and we have not had any special master meetings for those violations to be adjudicated, to be turned to running fines. So there are fines out there, but they're not running because we have not had a special master meeting to run those fines. We are looking at other options in regards to that. The biggest issue, I guess, the biggest quandary we run into, and I've had this discussion with the building official in regards to deeming the properties uninhabitable during a rain event. And I guess the biggest concern that the building official shared with me is the relocation of all those individuals and the responsibility of the apartment complex to do it. So at the end of the day, the apartment complex, they're not even maintaining their water, wastewater system or rainwater system to control flooding, to evacuate those apartments or tell people they're no longer can live there. The concern is additional housing, and will that apartment complex provide additional housing? As I said, fines and citations have been written, but the issue is running fines or final adjudications have not been done because we have not had any special master meetings or hearings.
And what's the process for the special master meetings to restart? As per the governor's order, we will be having an extended time to be doing these virtual meetings. Is there any plans to do a virtual meetings for our special magistrates so that we can continue our enforcement throughout the city?
So I would ask, that does fall in my purview, but I would ask for guidance from the city attorney, see if any other cities have restarted their special master meetings or has there been accommodations made? Either Madam Attorney or Madam Assistant Attorney, if you can kind of weigh in on that for me, that would be great.
All right, due to the fact that we do have a special commission meeting starting up, I want to make sure that we can, if you can provide that information to us, we need the information so that we can move and whatever the plan is. We do got to start this special commission meeting on time. So I want to make sure that we are on top of Gloria Apartments, especially during this flooding, and we're doing all that we can. It's within our power. I am concerned with the lack of code enforcement. I did review the code enforcement violations, and I'm concerned about the lack of enforcement when it comes to stormwater management there. Very concerned. And I hope that that is addressed as swiftly as possible because, yeah, and was that information forwarded to the rest of the commission?
No, you requested it. It was sent to you immediately and it will be forwarded to the rest of the commission.
All right, thank you. All right. Any final thoughts? We are at 6:30. We got to start this meeting. Any final thoughts from my commission before we adjourn to go to the next meeting? All right. Commissioner
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor. No, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Burke. Second by Vice Mayor Davis. This special meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.